I met a gypsy.
We've had like this one guy that just did it in America on a lights bike and just blew everyone's doors off, and it was Villo.
Yeah.
And it's like, that will never, ever be forgotten.
No.
And then it's like, we've almost got this guy. I mean, I don't know, like, could a 250 even do that kind of performance these days? Or was that just
absolutely.
like... So you think...
It's got a... I mean, that was just a perfect storm, Budds Creek 2007, because he was on the inside gate. It was a super unfair start line. He was pretty much riding a legal cheating bike.
Really?
Oh, mate, those PC bikes at that point were just incredible.
What year was that?
07.
Yeah,
it was. End of 07. Yeah. And then, so all of the 250s, from what I can remember, got that preferred inside gate. And so, when he got the whole shot and the first 450 around the turn was, not right there at the front, then he was away. It can be done again, but I don't believe it can be done at Red Bud this year, just because of the nature of the length of the start and how deep it is. Yeah.
I wonder, like, should they try and maybe set it up to where a start's more plausible, or is it just
no?
Is
it's
that
just
like a part of the event?
That's right. Yeah, it's a part of it. You go to different tracks all around the world, and some are right. Red Bud's a right hand first turn. Some are left. Some are uphill. Some are downhill starts. Yeah, it just really depends on. And that's what's so cool about motocross tracks in general, right? Is they're so varied, from soil to direction to how much elevation there is. There's a lot of different, pieces
that come into play.
Pieces of the puzzle for sure.
I was watching the 07 season last night, and I actually thought that, like, how much, because Anna said, it was funny because Anna's like, oh, what year was this? She thought it was way more recent than it was, because it's kind of it's actually quite a funny outside perspective, because she's completely outside. And she said, oh, what year is this? I said, 07. She goes, that's like a long time ago. The sport looked exactly the same. She said the tracks looked the same, the gears looked the same, the bikes looked the same. And I was like, I mean, these bikes are actually probably better. Looking at those PC bikes.
Yeah.
But how do you think they would compare to what we have now?
Well, they say the Star bike is incredible. It's like just an absolute rocket ship. If you go by what people say, I mean, I haven't talked to someone sort of really that races them, but a lot of people say they're like what the PC bikes were in those days that I raced a PC bike. And what I mean by that is, it was like legal cheating. You went to the start line knowing that you had a superior advantage over your competition in terms of performance on your bike.
And so what was that secret sauce? Because it's gone now.
Well, at the time, from what I understand, gearbox was a big part of it. If you talk to Mitch about it, from what I can recollect, is the gearbox was a real big component of getting their horsepower at the time.
And so what would be the things that are at play in a gearbox that makes a gearbox?
Well, he had I'm pretty sure it was the gearbox was done in UK, I'm pretty sure, or there was a special manufacturing at that time, and that was something that he was ahead of the game of.
Oh, right. And so now is everybody doing that?
I assume so.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the early days of the four strokes, Mitch was ahead of the curve. He hired a guy that came from TRD, Toyota Racing Development.
Yeah.
He was in one of the offices there out in the race shop, and he was a big, driving force behind the four stroke to actually get the development going. That was really where Mitch put a lot of energy in at that point in time, because remember they shared the bike, the brand shared the four stroke between Suzuki and Kawasaki.
From like 03, 04.
Yep. Yeah. I think that I don't recall exactly. And then they went their separate ways, and that's when Mitch
doubled down.
Yeah, big time.
So 06
is when he really click gears with it.
So I could be way off on this, but I remember hearing like a few years ago did you know if that guy passed away or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has.
Okay, so that was what I heard. People attribute that to, is that basically this guy passed away. that was working, and he was like one of the main guys that was like right in that R&D kind of area.
Certainly in the early days of the four stroke, big part of it. And when I first, because I'd come from Europe riding a KTM, and went and then jumped on I hadn't been on a Japanese bike in like 5 years, and I couldn't believe that the difference in what they were doing in the US compared to what I'd been racing in Europe on. I mean, it's a different, I don't know, it was a different...
Apples and oranges.
Yeah, exactly, because I was riding Supercross and in a different, they're in a different mind space, really, with the way that they set their bikes up and how they perform. But yeah, it was a real game changer for me. I preferred the American setup and have ever since.
So what is the difference?
Because of their Supercross, they ride their
it's just
bike
generally stiffer, like in the stiffer direction.
Yeah, definitely stiffer direction, and even the balance of the bike is set up. You've got deeper soil when you're in motocross, or you're dealing obviously a lot more with whoops and Supercross. So the balance of the bike is certainly skewed to being lower in the rear of the bike
in America.
Yep. Definitely is, because you're not fighting a lot of the time for traction.
Yeah.
In the US.
yeah.
Have you seen some of the GP tracks?
There's not a lot going on.
Yeah, and so you're really searching for traction and making that bike tractable in Europe. So and
you've got to be
hit the nail on the
softer.
head. It's apples and oranges. You can't compare the motorcycles in that respect. Yeah.
Because I always wondered why you had such a crazy era of dominance with the PC, and then it sort of went away. And I feel like there's got to be more than one factor. And I think that we probably
right now, if you want to talk about a factor right now, just take my Yamaha cap off. The production 250F is
better
where it starts.
Yeah,
that was the same.
Yeah,
in that era that I raced on that PC bike. It truly was.
Yeah.
So that's the starting platform that they work with, and then that just allows them to then get runs on the board way quicker with their performance from that point.
Yeah, and I think that you couple that with a motor guy or a guy that passes away that's in the team, and then you couple that with companies coming in and spending bulk cash on amateurs, and then Mitch kind of not really wanting to do that, and then you see AC's probably maybe Faulkner, the last big money kind of guys that and Mitch has just taken a moral stand on it and just said I ain't getting in a bidding war over 14-year-olds, and you're just I respect that. Probably hurts the race team in a sense, because you're not you'd think about Hayden. There's a monster guy and two monster teams that he could potentially go at, and that's a bidding war that could ensue, and he's just I'm out. I ain't playing that game. So it's just interesting. You see a bunch of different factors.
Call them snowball decisions, right? It's one snowball is losing momentum and the other snowball's gaining momentum, and certainly on that star direction right now with what you're talking about. When I always talk about there's about the decision as athletes, or those young pro riders, when they make that decision to go. Right now, star is like PC was in that era when I was there. You go there as a rider, as a young rider, expecting and thinking that the guy before me won, the guy after me is going to win. I need to bloody make sure that I win when I get on this motorcycle. You have that belief in that bike.
And I think it's the same thing with Dakar here.
Craig Deck's a perfect example. Yeah. And that happened to Aaron Tanti this year.
100%.
Luke Clark got injured, and Craig Deck's gone, hey, mate,
you got to win,
this is your opportunity now.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
Yeah.
He knows that there's a list of championships that have been before him, and there will be after him, and he wants to be a part of adding championships to that team. And it's just an aura that comes with being in an environment like that.
Yeah.
And it's almost and you see those streaks and trends continue for a while, and then there'll be one decision, and that's a catalyst, man. And it'll just then there'll be another decision, and then you start to see that flame sort of.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform, or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.